Hi, it's Robert Mendelson, Fractional CMO here in beautiful Montreal, welcoming you to another episode of the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. We're part of Fractional Pros Canada, the home for Canada's fractional community, and you can find us on Facebook. We bring you conversations about everything fractional that matters for fractional executives and businesses from coast to coast. Think of this as your go-to spot for real talk, practical wisdom, and strategies you can actually use, all without the corporate fluff and with plenty of Canadian content. Whether you're a fractional pro or a business in our great country of Canada and beyond, this conversation is for you. Grab your espresso and let's dive in. Welcome to the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. I'm your host and fractional CMO here in beautiful Montreal, Robert Mendelson. Joining us from the Ottawa region today is Sergey Poltev, and Sergey is a technology and delegation expert. He helps businesses simplify operations, secure what matters, and scale with systems and reliable execution so owners can grow without overwhelm. Today's podcast is sponsored by Fractional Pros Canada, the home of Canada's fractional executive community. Learn more at fractionalproscanada.ca. Sergey, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
And Sergey, we also know each other through McKay's CEO Forums. You're a member of the forum just down the street in Ottawa, and I am an advisor with that McKay's CEO Forum as well. And I saw you do your presentation a few months ago on the topic of how to hack-proof your business and think like a hacker. And I still have the takeaway that you gave out, and you were dressed up just like that. You had that vest on with that bulletproof looking vest, cybersecurity. I love the presentation, by the way. You really got right into it and conveyed that visual image of what you're trying to help businesses do, which is really bulletproof their businesses against hackers. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to talk about you and your life a little bit, because your story almost reads like a bit of a movie script. I feel like there could be a little movie made about Sergey and your early days to where you are now. So you were telling us during your presentation, you actually opened up an internet cafe when you were 18 years old in Russia, which is where you're from, and you survived run-ins with the Russian mafia, and then you came to Canada when you were 22 years old and kind of just started everything from scratch. So let's talk a little bit about that. That's a very interesting story, and tell us more. Fill in some details here of what that was like.
Sure, no problem. Well, I have the interesting story as I guess as many immigrants when they come to Canada. We're talking about the first generation immigrants who are not born in Canada, but who like fled the country and came to Canada or US. I'm sharing the story of my upbringing. I mentioned that in my book as well. I have a book written on the cybersecurity topic, which includes my background as well. Well, I did growing up in Russia in the 90s, 80s, and 90s. It was a challenging situation, especially for running a business. I remember I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to make money with computers when they first appeared, and and it was I was very passionate about computers, and I got exposed to computers at a very early age when I was I guess 12, 12, 14, and at that time. And then by the time I was 18, I wanted to make money with the computers, because I was growing up in poor family, so we didn't have much income going. My mom had she's an engineer, and she had a salary, and I lost my dad when I was young, and I also had siblings. So what I end up doing is doing the internet cafe business, and I've set up all the computers from scratch. I was a very naive young kid, and then I was threatened by mafia, and it was normal at that time, to pay somebody to cover your business, but I didn't know anyway. And but what's interesting, it's that mafia in kind of gave me that direction. That story allowed me to go and start fighting the mafia, but in the cyberspace. One of the things I shared with you at that workshop that I did is that, top countries for cyber crime are Russia and Ukraine. And it's kind of goes well with the mafia because in a way hackers are mafia. They're doing illegal activities to earn money. And so my goal when I came to Canada was to start fighting the Russian mafia by creating a cybersecurity business that protects businesses from cybercrime. And this is kind of like a good segue from my story into my business, cybersecurity business.
Yeah, and that's a really rich, mission, a mission-driven, a business that you've translated that experience into. It's a very powerful story. Thank you for sharing that with us. So you get to Canada. You had what, $500 to your name,
Yep.
and then what do you do from there?
Well, I had a student visa, so I couldn't really work much. So I was hoping I can find some job under the table, and I couldn't. And it was really hard. But again, I had to take the program when in a college, culinary program where they teach you how to cook, and they gave us free meals essentially, so I didn't have to spend money on food. And then things changed, like they changed the laws a little bit that you can actually find a job outside of a campus. I was working on a college campus to survive as well. And then my first job was really, I was looking an IT job because this is what I wanted. I knew what I was going to do. But nobody would hire me. It was really hard to find a job. So, and just like any entrepreneur, I was like, okay, if you can't get hired, you'll start your own business. So I went door to door, knocking on the doors, start asking for opportunities to fix computers. Slowly started doing my first offices where I go to office and help them with technology, and yeah, slowly grew from there. So it's just really from door to door to my first million.
Right. I mean, that's amazing. And I think you also shared the story about how you broke your first computer and had to learn
Hmm.
how to fix it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's how I got into IT. My mom was saving like 6 months of her salary to buy a computer in Russia. It was very expensive at that time, and but it's really changed me. Uh, I remember when the man who brought a computer to me to my home set it up. It was something magical moment. And that's another reason why I wanted to pursue that as a career, is to give power of technology to people, to other boys like me, for example. But yes, when the computer broke, it didn't last long because I wanted to upgrade something in it, and it got on fire, and like the whole motherboard blew up. Everything's like completely broken. And so I had to learn how to fix it because my mom said, no, we're not buying you anything. So just go and learn. And I had to go and learn. There was no internet at that time. So I had to go to the local market, radio market, and ask people on how to fix computers. And they said, well, there's parts here and there. You can buy this part. The parts were too expensive. So I had to start working to get the parts. And that's how I got into the computer world. I remember I was building lots of computers for other people at that time, and could build the computer with my eyes closed eventually.
Wow. You say there was no internet at that time. I think most of us
In
are
Russia.
in Russia. Okay. But even here in North America, it was still early days, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
absolutely.
mean, that's some nostalgia right there. It's hard to imagine the world without internet. And when we say there wasn't internet, even when there was internet early days, it was nothing like it is today either, right? So,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. So you go from young guy, pretty broke, fixing your own stuff, scraping scraps together, and now here you are today. You've got what, about a distributed team of about 40 people. So and now you're the computer guru, and you used to do everything yourself, and now you're leading other people. You've obviously figured out how to delegate. What has that journey been like, where you let go of everything and you are relying on other people to do stuff that you used to do yourself?
Absolutely. So no, this is a very good question, and this is what I do now. I actually help even other businesses overcome that bottleneck of doing everything yourself. I think it was always, I think everybody catches this. Like when you start your business, you are the technician, you're passionate about what you do. In my case, it was computers, technology, helping people. You know how passionate I was based on my story, and it was really hard to let it go. But the problem is yes, I was doing everything myself, working long hours, and yeah, I was making good money, but at the end of the day, I was burning myself out, and just this, I remember, yeah, it affected my mental health, physical health as well, eventually. So yes, the cost of doing everything yourself is pretty high. We see people having heart attacks at a young age nowadays, is because they do work too hard. They don't exercise. They don't eat properly. Yes, this was me. And then really what happened is delegation. I was reading books on time management, on delegation leadership, Maxwell. Again, I was growing up without father, so I had to learn and find mentors in my life. So for me, it was books. Dale Carnegie, my first book on personal development. I was not really, I was introvert. So I didn't like talking to people. I like to dive into technology. So I had to overcome those challenges and start leading, start talking. My first employee changed everything for me, um, because I had a more time doing business development as opposed to doing technical work. And eventually, um, even before the pandemic, I always wanted to build a remote team, but pandemic really helped me to scale and move, go with a distributed team. And I think it's every leaders needs to kind of evolve over time by letting go of things that they need to do themselves to and delegate to their teammates.
There's so much to unpack there. One thing I want to double click on is you were an introvert, and you're obviously, the Sergey that I meet nowadays is, I would never guess in a million years was an introvert. You're clearly not anymore. How did you overcome that? A lot of fractionals, a lot of business leaders are introverts, and that's a challenge they face every day. What are some tips, some hacks, since we're talking about hack proofing,
Yes.
that you found worked to help you transition out of that?
Well, first of all, we all want to, I think many, like fractional. I'm also done lots of fractional work as a fractional CIO, Chief Informational Officer. We still include do this service through my company, but I don't do it myself anymore. I guess that one of the first things is let go of that perfection syndrome. People don't delegate, and because they don't like that other people will do the same, do as a good job as your own. So essentially, you need to no, you cannot clone yourself, and you cannot find people exactly like you, but you do need to um, let go of that perfection. Like for me, done is better than perfect, and speed is important. And even the person does 80% of the work. I think this is what we need to like aim for. We cannot find somebody who will do 100% of the work, but which again, somebody can do the 80%, and then you can come in and finish the 20% and do that extra work. So that's the first thing, like the trust of people, knowing that it's not never going to be perfect, and be okay with that. I would say that's the first hack that I would recommend for everyone to think before they hire their first employee.
So that's all about delegation, and often, I guess, part of the introvert complex, if we could call it that, is that fear of letting go. But that fear of letting go also, I think, crosses the spectrum of introverts, extroverts, Very often, entrepreneurs who have an expanding business at some point have to face that reality that, hey, I can't do everything myself anymore. I went through that when I had my business years ago. So that's kind of that. But what about the actual overcoming introvert part where, it's difficult to have those conversations with strangers,
Mhm.
especially when you start out a new business? You're doing sales whether you like it or not, so you got to talk to strangers. How do you
Yeah.
overcome those kinds of barriers?
Well, I guess it's one of the feelers. It's really being rejection proof, I would say. If you build the rejection proof in yourself, then just a fear, essentially. If you think about rejection as something that's kind of embedded in us since the old Stone Age, where we, as a humans, we were surviving in tribes, and we wanted to, and the fear of rejection for us was so high. Basically, it's just like a life. Like you would die if somebody would reject you. You would just go and die because you're gonna starve. And so it's still back to today. People are very like they rather do something, but they hate rejection. And you need to, I would say, the biggest thing for introverts is to embrace rejection. You have to do it. It's a hard thing to do in the beginning, but then it becomes easy. I read this book. I think it's called Rejection Proof,
There you
where
go.
the author recommends to like become resilient to rejection by asking people to reject themselves. He did a 100-day of rejection challenge. So he goes in and tries to get rejected on purpose,
Wow.
essentially. Yes, it's quite interesting. It's interesting cases he's showing. Like for example, you can go to the restaurant and ask, in the McDonald's, for example, and ask for a burger refill, you know, and you know that they're gonna reject you. So, but that's what you want. You want rejection. And he did 100 different rejection challenges. I think rejection is very important as we're building a business because in sales we need to be prepared to be rejected. And so I would say this was the biggest one for me. In fact, rejection. I embrace rejection every single day, and I set up, let's say, not a challenges, but the quota, rejection quota. So, for example, I need to be rejected today 5 times, and it's okay. And actually, looking forward to be rejected, because this way changes your entire perspective of being like fear of talking to people. You're actually like looking forward to talk to people and get rejected. Think about cold calls. It's one of the proven ways to grow a business is through sales, or making a phone calls to people, follow ups. You can just follow up with people, and you don't have to be cold calls. There's a book that I read. It's called Pick Up the Phone and Sell. It's really about making consistent phone calls, and most of the time, people will reject you, and it's okay. So I guess that would be my my hack, my super hack.
It sounds like there's a different book title out there that has yet to be written, which is called "Pick Up the Phone and Get Rejected."
There you go. Maybe that's something I can write.
Maybe you can write that. Maybe we can collaborate. I mean, there are so many stories of rejection. I mean, just outside of the business world, dating comes to mind. That's a
Yep.
big rejection area. And then, of course, back in the day, door to door salespeople selling encyclopedias or vacuums. I mean, that would still work today. Just go ring on a random doorbell and just say, "Hey, would you like to buy a vacuum?" And I mean, I think that's pretty guaranteed instant rejection. So, some easy ways to build up that rejection muscle. Thank you
Yep.
for sharing that. I'd never thought of that's a really interesting way to twist it around where you're not trying to avoid rejection. You're heading right into it. You're
Yes.
taking that exit that says road closed under construction, and you're driving straight through that barrier
Yes. Yeah.
intentionally to have to deal with what's coming down that road as far as barriers. That's fantastic. Um, let's talk about hacking. So you talked about some hacker tools that are out there. And I was really interested when you mentioned some things that I didn't realize we're out there, some really easy hacking tools, and we certainly don't want to give people ideas, but at the same time, these things are easily out there if you
Mhm.
probably do just a little bit of research online. So you mentioned one that there are hackers that will use tools to scrape email addresses from LinkedIn, and then they use that information to gain a foothold into a company. Could you talk about that? How does that work? From how is just an email address an entryway to complete hacking of a company? How does that work?
Sure. Oh, yeah, that's a very common way to get access from hackers. Email is a as a vector is so easy to find, and so there's best ways. So there's hackers use emails in a couple of different ways. First is the just sending them a link, and you click on a link. So most companies save their passwords, well, employees in Google Chrome, for example, or it could be saved to. I've seen people saving them on Apple Notes. I can see them saving them basically unencrypted on the computer, very easy to get. So when you click on the link from somebody, what happens is that there's a command gets executed on your computer, and that command can read everything that's in very fast and grab information, grab all your passwords, for example, from Google Chrome, and send to the hacker. That's a very common way to do that, and you can store banking information, you can store your Amazon account, you can store anything, like you name it. And that's just this is we call it the phishing attack, and you need to be very careful what links to click on. It could look legit, but it's we need to know whether it's a right link or not. Another way is many many domain names and company addresses. We're talking about at yourcompanyname.com. They're not secure. The settings are not secure. We call it DNS settings. It's where between a domain name and an email, if that and many emails could be kind of not compromised, but you can create somebody can create an email with your domain name, pretending it to be you, for instance, and this will create that extra level of trust for people who receive an email from you by clicking on your link. Do you know what I mean? So, for example, if you have an employee and your email, and I can send an email from that employee, hey, Robert, I've prepared this report for you. Click on here to find more. You click and you get that thing. So those are very common ways. So it's very important to protect emails. Email security is one of the most important securities out there. Cybersecurity is a big name, right? It's a there's a lot of different securities like password security, email security, endpoint security. So this is how I advise my clients to look into cybersecurity. It's not just one thing. There's no like magic thing you can buy, like a Norton antivirus in old days, that will keep you protected.
The
In fact,
nostalgia. Norton.
yeah, exactly. I don't even know if they're around.
I heard a weird story about the founder of Norton that at some point he made millions. I think he was somewhere down in Florida or somewhere at some point. And then there was, I don't know, he got into some kind of trouble. I don't remember the story, but there was some kind of backstory there that was colorful, shall we say.
Mhm.
Um, when you're doing, you've got this hack proof score self-assessment. When you're doing these assessments with businesses, what are the most common vulnerabilities that you see over and over again in businesses?
Yeah, I think I would say passwords. Passwords. Passwords is really keys to everything. Okay, and the way people managing passwords and storing their passwords are like it's crazy. Like people storing them in Apple Notes and people storing them on Excel sheet or Google Chrome. I would say that's one of the easiest way to bump up your cybersecurity is to organize your passwords and store them in an encrypted place. I But again, I when I do these scores, I look at the I ask questions where and how, and then at the end of the day I'll provide them the score. So that actually password score, if you don't make it, you lose a lot of scores through that. That's why I put it as a high priority, and it's easy, very easy to implement, to make a fix for a client, for companies.
So what are those fixes? What's the best thing? Is it to use a password manager? Like I use Bitwarden, for example.
Yeah, but you also need to start with the password policy in the organization. So I would say, just like there's an HR policies in companies, you need to start creating a set of cybersecurity policies. One of them is password policy, and where it's not just about you, it's about everybody in your team, because you can't just have one person. So it's really, at the end of the day, it's education. It's the creating policy and creating an awareness training. Um, the just having a tool, it's not enough. You need to have a training, just like AI. You cannot just go and install ChatGPT. You need to learn how to do prompts and etc. I would recommend to start by do cybersecurity awareness training for every organization just in the very beginning. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but I recommend to do it. Don't wait till October.
October.
It could be too late. It could be too late. So, and the best practice of cybersecurity awareness is how to handle passwords, or what kind of policies to create. How do you work safely from home? So that's what I would start. Yes, password manager is an important tool, but if it needs to be used properly and by everyone.
One weak link in the chain and the whole chain is weak.
100%.
And then there's, and then of course there's 2FA, multiple factor authentication, which is happening more and more. And I'm being asked by apps that I use now more and more, like I have to have 2FA, especially if I'm going to a bank site or something like that. So that's obviously another layer of protection.
Yes, 100%. And it's important to do this, especially if you build distributed teams. I'm passionate about helping companies build distributed teams because it could be a very cost-effective way for them to grow their business. But I've seen horror stories when people hiring, VAs and sharing all the information with them, and all this information gets exposed. So it's very important to set up security layer properly. In fact, I recommend my approach. It's called simplify, secure, scale, and in that direction. So essentially, you need to, before you secure everything, you need to simplify everything. So looking at what software is used, what's your tech stack, both software, hardware, everything. You kind of want to simplify things, and then you're gonna do secure. Secure level is where you're actually securing things. Think about people, companies handling data, and they storing data everywhere. Google Drive, Apple Drive, Dropbox. So you can't really secure everything properly if you have all this mess all over the place, right? So that's, and then on top of that, where are people working? What does your team look like? Who is the CEO? Is there assistant to CEO? Because there are also executive assistants being hacked a lot because they have access to CEO data. And so yes, and scale is the third level, is where once everything's set up, you have systems in place. Now you can hire people remotely, securely, and no issues.
When you get a call from a CEO, what's typically the burning issue on their mind? What's the biggest worry they have that they want you to tackle?
Yes. So I guess so when it comes to cybersecurity, I often get calls from clients that's growing, and they'd say they are expanding, they're receiving grants, or they getting funding, and this information gets published online. Once it's done, hackers are already listening to this and they're waiting. So I always tell my clients, it's not about when, it's not about if, it's when. So how do you know if hackers are already not in your system? And so the best advice I would provide to those clients is just do penetration test, or find out if everything is properly set up in their systems before they get big grant, big expansion, or like the funding for, or when businesses being bought or sold, lots of sum of money coming in. So this is where the biggest concerns coming in, because it's really about when it's going to happen, and it's going to happen when there's money in the bank. And so that's the issue. So it still applies to small companies, because small companies will eventually grow and they need to set up their systems. But I think the biggest one is when there's big money at stake.
Uh, did you ever, or are you currently occasionally called upon to work as a kind of friendly hacker to try and hack somebody's system to find the vulnerabilities?
Yeah, yeah. I have certification as certified ethical hacker, and there's different. This essentially is the way to get into clients' system without, but being paid for it essentially. And this is I'm in the community of other certified ethical hackers, basically cybersecurity professionals that being paid for that. We offer this as a service. I think the best way to do it to start with before you do hire a person, you would just do pen test. So pen test is when you can run a program on your computer. It's just a link. Think about this like a hacker with the email that I mentioned in the beginning, but now it's coming from from reliable source, but it's going to do the same job as the hacker does, and then I'll be providing report on what we find after somebody clicks on that link, and you'll be surprised to see people's faces. Sometimes we show all the passwords, for example. Here is all your passwords. And people are like, wow, how did you find out? Well, we just did this because of this and this and this. And anybody could have clicked on that link and received and sent those passwords to hackers.
So when you're acting as an ethical hacker, what is your success rate? Is it 100%? Have you always been able to figure out a way to hack, or have you ever been actually stopped? 100%.
No, there's definitely ways to good companies setting up proper systems. I would say 80% success rate. So there's still a lot. I don't know. People not taking it very serious. Security is coming to them after they've been breached already. Unfortunately, people don't putting budget in place. My recommendation is just, even if you use ChatGPT or Gemini, ask a question: how much money should we put aside for cybersecurity? Most people don't even have budget for cybersecurity, and it's really just a set of tools and do the test once a year. And you need to add that on top of your IT budget. IT budget is typically your, computers and Microsoft license and website and a phone system. But cybersecurity, it's the tools that you need to buy. Additionally, there's 750 different IT cybersecurity companies out there right now offering cybersecurity products, and it's a very complex world. So definitely, you need to use a fractional CIO, or having an IT company that provides this as part of their service. Many IT companies moving towards cybersecurity world, but if my advice is, if the company is not really prevents you from and don't give you reports and don't communicate with you properly on your risks, that's a red flag.
I guess AI is a double-edged sword in this world. It can help the hackers, but it could also help you, hack proof yourself. Who's typically ahead of that game? Is it always the hackers who are always a step ahead?
Well, not necessarily. Some of the industries have very good practices, and they have the prevention mechanisms are in place. But those are typically those who are regulated, like the finance sector, medical sector. But we still hear in the news how medical hospitals being ransomed, some financial companies managing your funds, your savings being hacked. So there's a 50-50 still. Like I see this all the time. Who wins this war? I mean, this budget is still growing, as you know. This is a third largest economy. Largest economy in the world is cybercrime. Looking at over $10 billion. It's very, very growing industry, and we're lacking some professionals. I find that I go to lots of cybersecurity conferences, and we talk a lot how we need more people that in this field, and we need more fractional CIOs as well.
You touched on this before. I was going to ask you, when I bought my first house, it had I'd bought it, and the previous owner had had an alarm system, but it was disconnected. And I'm like, well, I don't think we need that. Feels like a pretty safe area. Fast forward a few years, get robbed. Of course, the first phone call the next day was to the alarm company. How often does that happen to you, where people are calling you only once they've already gotten hacked versus
Yes.
being proactive?
Unfortunately, this happens all the time. And we have a button on our website for, if you hack, call us or click here. We didn't have that button until we find that this is how we get lots of clients. So they don't need to, because you're already going to lose a lot of money. And the problem is being hacked is a reputation, which is very hard to rebuild. It takes years to do it, especially if you're handling any personal data. In US, they have very strict rules now. If you got hacked and the personal information got leaked online, so the company must pay for privacy protection for this company, for all the people, all the users, all the data that's been leaked out. So for example, you need to pay $30 a month for next couple of years for each person that's been leaked. And I think there's these type of requirements coming to Canada, and it's going to be more and more pressure on businesses to build proper security in place. So hopefully this will come in. But until now, everybody's waiting to get hacked and then and then call IT professionals.
So you said before, it's not a question of if, question of when. Have you ever been hacked?
Yes, we had maybe 10 years ago, we had a situation where our server got compromised with the data. Unfortunately, there was not much information, but that just explained that how important it is. I know that for a fact. It's really important to put together. And by the way, many IT companies being targeted by hackers because they handle a lot of information about our clients. So we heard there's a big breach happened to the software that manages clients' computers. It's called SolarWinds hack a couple of years ago,
Right.
and I mentioned that there's a 750 different softwares that IT professionals use to secure their clients. So very important nowadays is to pick the right software that has proper security standards as well. And this applies to everyone else as well. Like, do you know what kind of software do you use? Where does it originate? Does it say sends data? Do they have security certification? So you can be safe, but your software could be hacked, and then you can get hacked in return. So it's very important to pick the right software, and that's what happened to us. We had an old software that needed to be upgraded, and and that's what it is.
Oh, so now I'm really scared because if you've been hacked, then there's just no hope for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Run for the hills. I don't know. I might make a big withdrawal from the bank tonight and just put it all under my mattress. It sounds like that might be the safest way. And of course, call the alarm company to get that alarm hooked back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Now, you mentioned you're already an author, and I think I heard or you mentioned that you're also working on a book specifically for seniors
Hmm.
who are obviously an easier target for hackers because people who are older tend to be not as tech savvy, etc. Tell us a little bit about that project, and what are the biggest vulnerabilities that seniors have when it comes to hack proofing themselves these days?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting project of mine. We noticed that more and more seniors calling us lately. We have a second company, our social enterprise Heartfelt IT, where we help clients who are not typically not being helped by other IT companies. Seniors is one of them. And we find that seniors being targeted, and first of all, they're not very tech savvy, as you know. Because of they didn't grow up with computers. Very big majority of them, they don't know how to use proper computer. They don't know how to the latest security. For example, right now Windows 10 is already obsolete. It's unsecure, but I can bet you there's so many seniors still using it because they're only using it for basic needs like banking. But this is where their money is. In fact, seniors, baby boomers, they are actually the ones who have the money. If you think about millennials and Gen Zs, they don't have money. And another problem is that seniors have problem with memory, like the dementia developing, and it's very easy to fool them by scamming. So scamming is a very popular way to do it. Very easy to find a phone number for seniors nowadays and call them and ask them and tell them, for example, offer them some kind of deal that sounds too good to be true, and like if it's IT related, you can offer them, the fake service, and they ask them to get into their computer. And it's very easy nowadays to get to somebody's computer. Literally, that click of the button that I mentioned to you, the magic click, can also get you in the computer. Essentially, but they need to give you the code back. So you click on the link. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. You click on the link. They give you the code. They're in the computer. Done. They're moving the mouse, and then the senior can go back to sleep where the hacker using the computer. It's very common nowadays. And we've seen many cases in Ottawa for scams like this, including like fake crypto scams, fake software, fake subscriptions, so many things. And I find that the banks don't really help. I ask questions and I interview them. In fact, for my book, I interview all the cases now and record them to ask, did you call the bank? What did bank tell you? Like the case was $40,000. We had a case, $80,000 stolen. Fake. So they logging into Amazon accounts and ordering Amazon using that credit card. It's changing addresses, email addresses on file, so the seniors cannot log in, but the Amazon account still linked to their credit card. So we're looking at problem here because banks don't really help. They can reverse the money, but that's it. But because they have insurance, but still, some of the banks don't even return the money, and they say, "Well, you're on your own," and they need to seek help. I was planning to educate seniors, but it's really hard. So I think the best way for me is to educate the kids of the seniors, is the younger generation who has parents in that position. And this is what the book and the project is about. Cyber Savvy Senior is to how to make seniors more cyber savvy, and specifically for them, as we're talking about different ways they scamming people, scamming. So there's 12 different scams we talk about, and the goal is to promote this book and for kids to spend time with their parents, educating them and go through the checklist. So I don't aim to educate seniors. There are books written on that topic, but honestly, I ask seniors based on my discovery. They don't understand it. It's really hard for them. They buy books, like for example, IT for seniors or computers for seniors, but they don't go through them. They need to be
kids.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It needs to be, and there's many books on that topic now for seniors, but they not aimed on the actual problem. The problem is, and I'm gonna show lots of stories. The problem is to educate seniors by somebody who in their family. Okay, so, and if they don't have family, maybe somebody else, like retirement homes, things like that. So this is going to be interesting. Yeah.
And I fall squarely right into that demographic. I'm still managing my parents' AOL mail accounts.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah, wow. Right. Back to that early 90s internet nostalgia thing we keep going back to here. Let's talk also about, you have another business, a VA desk. You connect small businesses with full-time virtual assistants. And as you put it very well, how this helps leaders, it helps them reclaim time and scale sustainably. So a lot of fractionals, small business owners who aren't ready for a full-time hire, but still there's too much on their plate and they need some kind of help. What kind of tasks are kind of the low-hanging fruit for those small business owners, the fractionals, for bringing in a VA, virtual assistant, to start helping them out?
Yeah, it's a very popular question that I get. What tasks can you outsource? I actually wrote 250 tasks you can outsource to your VA, and I can provide it to you for the show notes if you want. But again, look at the fractional fractional professionals. They charge quite a bit of money by the hour, and they need to stop doing admin work, something that takes the cost $10, $14 an hour. For the, I guess the biggest ones I find is the care barrier, for example, caring by just calling your list and ask them how you're doing. Just it's a very simple way to and I don't know why people don't follow up. Remember that book that I mentioned, Pick Up the Phone and Sell? I really like this book. Very simple system is just to call your database and ask them how they're doing. Is there anything we can do for you? Just and leave a proper voicemail, because most of the calls goes to voicemails. So looking after your clients, I guess that's the biggest one. Account management, clients, customer service. How did I go? Anything we can improve? Can we get a referral? Because that's where the magic happens. If they see that you care about them, if you're following up, they'll send you a referral to another client. Is there anybody else we can, now that we work with you, can we ask for the referral? And you can train. It's very easy to do, very simple, but many fractionals don't ask these questions. I don't know why. It's hard.
Fear of rejection.
Maybe fear of rejection. Exactly. The next thing I would definitely recommend, any interaction, removing all this distraction. It's not about what to outsource, is to figure out what distractions do you have. For example, phone calls. Like you can forward your cell phone to your VA easily, and they'll answer the call between 9 and 5. After 5, you can bring it back. Simple. So this way, if somebody calls you and want to book an appointment, they can talk to your VA, but your phone's going to be silent. It's very important. Distractions could be well, obviously it relates to other things. You wanted to remove all the notifications from your phones and things like that. But I think this is where I can see the biggest ROI, is that if I'm focused and I don't need to worry about who calls me, it's managed by my VA, and then she sends me a note in the afternoon, who she spoke with, how many spam calls she got, how many scam calls they got, So this is a big one. I would say the billing, account payable, any bills. So I would show all the receipts, share your credit card receipt, things like that. So start building up database of all your vendors and vendor management. It takes a lot of time. Think about everybody you're paying on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis. Even your internet company, like we had a success by just calling and ask if it's if this is the updated plan. Should we update? Or calling your security company and ask how much is the security company. So it's a vendors. We spending so much time managing vendors, and if we don't manage them, we tend to forget to pay or get overcharged, or those are the big ones. Bookkeeping, collecting bills. Those are important ones. Think about admin tasks. Now, social media and marketing tasks, super important as well. Your presence. One of the popular things that we do now is I see people recording. I don't think you can outsource your voice, outsource your message for them. So you can get on the camera, record your information, or record a podcast like this. But I recommend just to start creating some content online. But don't do anything else. You just record, save. The rest is done by your VA. They will edit the video. There's tons of modern tools to do that. And they will post. They will add information. They will transcribe it. They will do everything. And you don't have to worry about it at all. So the marketing, sales, admin, bookkeeping, and protecting your time. Those are the things I would look into.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great time for me to plug something that I'm using. One of my clients is using. It's an AI-powered workflow that takes, a podcast or panel cast, which is, maybe it's a 15 or 30-minute interview with an executive or a few members of the C-suite who typically don't have a lot of time to put into creating social media content, but need to put in some time to create the content. They need to create the content. So you take a simple recording and then you feed it into this AI powered panel cast flow, and it takes it, it identifies the different topics that were discussed. It'll pull out some quotes. It'll give you some focused video clips, and it will enrich the conversation with some data points that it'll go and find from reputable, relevant professional sources to back up what was being said by the executive. And boom, you've got content for a month for
Perfect.
your LinkedIn, for wherever else your social is hanging out, for your video clips and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
have you started using yet AI agents to replace VAs for making those calls?
No, VAs. So the calls, yes, our phone system allows us to do the AI answering. It's a very simple case, but we're definitely utilizing AI agents right now and training VAs. So VAs are, I believe that VAs is not the only thing you need to do. You need to train the VAs on latest technology and on how to use AI agents. I do believe that VAs can become very good AI operators. So you still need to spend time leveraging AI tools and AI agents. So, for example, you can have one or two VAs and three or four AI agents. This is very important, and that's where I see how companies will build going forward. We already see uh, 55% of Canadian businesses have three or less employees. And this number will drop even more because people will have less employees, more AI and VAs. So, and you can still run very profitable business and achieve the location and time freedom with this lifestyle of having VAs and AI. So definitely there's a mixed. We are not against AI. In fact, AI will dominate, and you will have probably 80% of your workforce AI and 20% is VAs, humans. You do need to have a good, reliable humans because humans can delegate. You can delegate, and they can build. But you can. Good news is that there's lots of training right now. Coursera and Udemy now joined forces to create a massive AI training platform. We're working on our own platforms for AI agents for VAs, which is amazing. So all the VAs that we hire, they're going to get through the training on how to use AI agents. But I just like the idea. I can afford it. I love when somebody calls me, the human replies and books an appointment for me and ask what it is about. So it's just my personal brand. But definitely, you can just already start implementing AI agents, AI voicemail, like you can install AI chatbots on the websites and also voice chatbots nowadays too. So we use Go High Level a lot in our business, and we consult on that. And now it's very easy to install AI chatbots and AI voice agents on the website. If businesses don't have that yet, they should do it.
Yeah, and you highlighted a really important shift. A lot of people are like, "Oh, the whole VAs are going to go away. We don't need them anymore." But no, it's going to shift away from the VAs making the calls to the VAs being the operators of the AI agents that are making the
Yes.
calls. So it's not the VAs going away. There's a shift in their responsibilities, which is going to make them and the whole business they're helping out more efficient.
Yes, I agree. And we need to make them leaders of AI, essentially. We teach them how to delegate to AI. They don't need to delegate to other humans. They do. We still have a good hierarchy right now of VAs who delegate to other VAs, but we now slowly implementing AI agents. And AI agents, just like they're also your teammates, like employees. They can sit in your Teams or Slack or Discord, and you interact with them. But somebody needs to interact with them, and it still takes time. You need to converse, like you can even speak with them nowadays. You can set up Telegram via AI agent and just speak with them, or WhatsApp, but it still takes time. Leaders shouldn't do this time on interacting with AI agents. Other humans need to interact with them, which is VAs.
Keep the human in the lead, not just in the loop.
Oh, 100%. I like that.
All right, Sergey, let's wrap this up with the question that we ask all of our guests here on the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. If you could put one message on a billboard for millions of fractionals and business owners to see every day as they drive by it on the highway of life, what would that message be?
Leverage. Leveraging humans and AI, I would say, if I have a couple of words to add. But leveraging is important. This is the true leadership is effective delegation and effective leadership. It's the using humans and AI or technology. So that's where cybersecurity comes in and all the other tech parts. It's really the humans and technology working together and not picking one or another. It has to be done together. And but to create this massive leverage that we can have as a fractionals.
Leverage humans and AI.
Yes.
That brings it all together. I love it. Sergey, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Fractional Pros Canada pod.
Thanks. I had fun.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. If you're a fractional professional based in Canada, we'd love to have you join us in the Fractional Pros Canada Facebook group, the home for Canada's fractional community. It's where Canadian fractional executives connect, share insights, and help each other succeed. Until next time, I'm Robert Mendelson, Fractional CMO. May your impact be full-time, even if your hours are fractional.